Hi, and welcome back to our ninth day of the course. Let's arrange a little bit here, this image. I put a few things on the plans. Specifically, there are two. I wanted to show you one example by Thea, how she wrote something that's an interesting thing to point out. Something to improve for many of you. The two main items, NumPy and pandas, that we haven't checked. Maybe later also machine learning, and also regular expressions. These are, and actually the funny thing is sort of that maybe we arrange it this way. So the regular expression is something very, I would say, low level thing. And then NumPy, pandas, and machine learning, even if we manage to get there, is something very much higher level, way higher than we dealt with really so far. But let me first of all, let me point out that I already got some of the project proposals. You can see it on our in our repository. I put the links there, some really nice proposals. One thing that people still keep doing is calling their repository project or something like this. Please don't do that. Give it a real name. After all, think about it. That is nothing to really do with this course. So don't come from the point of view that this is a project for this course, but come from the point of view of, oh, you're doing something, okay, from whatever it is. I can't even read this word, okay, and so that's what you do, and this happens to be in the as part of this course. But some of the people already mentioned that at the bottom of, I think here, for example, if you look at this repository, I just have to move this thing here. Okay, so you can see in the README at the bottom what I asked, where there is a reference to this project, but basically that's it. So sorry, there is a reference to this course, but basically that's it. Just to mention, think about it as something that will hopefully live on for maybe a few years, because this is something hopefully valuable way beyond the course. So that's the whole idea, to create something that's valuable to you and maybe to other people. So that's why I'm saying that the name of the repository, and then you have a title that reflects whatever you do, and not that it's a part of the project. Okay, part of the course. Okay, so that part. So it's a very nice description, and then there is the technical part, which is basically quite similar to all of the projects, except that sometimes maybe you have running the program that will open a TK GUI that we learned last time, or you have to provide it on the command line, the input file, output file, and so on. You might need to describe how to prepare the input data and so on. So that's about the project. Right. Let me go to this example I wanted to show you. Okay, wrong window. Yeah, and I wanted to show this day 7 of this work, day 7. So in this, look at the README. There are explaining that there are two downloaders in this. Then one of them is the nucleotide downloader. The other one is the protein database downloader. But in reality, NCBI Pi, this is one of them. Okay, let me go to the beginning of it. And the other one is called NCBI protein. Okay, and if you now they are open. Okay, so this is the Vim editor, and it has the nice feature that I can jump between the two files easily. So I just click on this, and then you can see the little change in the middle, And that's the difference between the two files, right? So well, basically, it's just the name of the DB and of course the explanation. And if I go further down, let's say to this point where it's create a directory, and let's say this is where I am, set number. This way I can see the numbers, set number. Okay, we can see the line numbers. So here I'm on row number 30, and here 2. So here again I can see the difference. Like you can see while I'm jumping between the two files, you can see the difference is really, really small. And if I go further, let's say row 56, row 56, and here we can also see that the difference is really, really small. Actually, I'm just quit the editor. I could run the diff program, which is available on Linux and on probably on Mac. And if you're using the on Windows, the Git bash window, then also on Windows it's available. So by default it's not, but in that window I think it is. And then you can, it's very similar to the git diff that we used to see what we changed. But this one is basically the original one, the more original one, and we can use it to compare two files. So in this case, I'm comparing the two files, and you can see that there are very little differences between the two programs. So on the other hand, if I run this WC program, this is basically the thing that you were implementing in one of the exercises, counting the number of rows, number of words, and number of letters in each file. So you can see that it's 72 lines long each one, while the difference is really small. So the first thought that I had when I saw the two implementations wasn't that they are really, really almost identical, but that they have some common functions. And so my first reaction was to say, okay, so here you have a common function. Let's say this one. This seems that the log search details is the same in both files. So my first suggestion was, and would be in this case, is to take this function, okay, move it to a separate file, and then import that function from that separate file in both executables, in both programs. And that way we reduce the duplication of code, because now we have this function twice in both files. And that's problematic, because if at one point you decide to change something in here, you have to remember to do it in two places. And if you have it in more, then you have to remember to do it in more places. And we will forget, especially, or even if it's not forget, we just in a rush. We're always in a rush. So you just fix one of them and you say, okay, I'll fix the other ones later. And of course, later almost never really comes, because you have other things more important, more urgent things to do. So that's one of the reasons it's much better to put stuff in modules, in external files, basically. So that was my first reaction. But now that I see that they are almost identical, basically, the better recommendation is to somehow parameterize this program. And that's actually a good way to introduce this something. So let's see how this works. So I can run this, and it will tell me, actually, I need to start my virtual environment in order to have this thing working. Yes. So it asks me for a term and a number. And the difference between the two programs is that they are going to access different databases. So I would probably improve this by saying, okay, let's put the name of the database as the first parameter. So this is the nucleotide database, okay? And where is the argument? So this is the main function. and it's asking for 2 arguments. So that's why it's checking for 3. But let's ask for 4 arguments and say that the first argument must be the database. And now I can indicate this by saying database, and then the user is expected to actually, okay, let's go with this one. Expected to know which databases there are. But here we can, let's say, add that database, and then I can put here the nucleotide for now. Okay, so for now that we only have 1. Okay, and now this is going to, I have to change these numbering, and this is now I'm going to have the database, which is sys argv1, and then this is going to be 2, and this is going to be 3. Of course, I could have decided to put this field, the database field, at the end if I wanted, and so on, but this is fine, okay? So where is this nucleotide mentioned? Nucleotide. So here, search the term in the NCBI. Now I would remove the description saying this is nucleotide, because in the selected, okay, let's say, and here is the field for the database. So here, instead of that, I'm going to put database. Fine, okay. Where else? It was also mentioned here, so I'm going to put it here as well, database. So now we have the variable database instead of the string there. Where else? Okay, so that's it. And the word database is actually only mentioned here. Fine. Okay, so it seems that what I managed to do is now replace the fixed word nucleotide by this variable that the user is expected to give. Let's see. First of all, if I run git diff, that will show the changes I made. Okay, that's so we can see that basically I removed these lines and I added these lines, but in reality I replaced this word. And I think, let me just check something, because git config, I rarely use this one, but I wanted to show something. This one, the git diffw, let's see if it works. Yes, okay. So now this is a slightly different diff. I'll show you in a second how I set it up. That will show you really that the word nucleotide was removed and the word selected was added. So it's more specifically showing you exactly what changed. So it's not that this line was removed and this line was added, even though there's only one word that was changed in the line, but it's more specific. And I even have this one, I think, that we can show you in this case, it's not that good, but it could show you characters that were changed, specific characters. And how I use them, I have this central configuration file called .gitconfig, and I have these in the git config. So in the git config file, we have the user name and email, okay, that we configured right at the beginning of the course by running git config commands. So you also have somewhere on your computer this file in your home directory. If you're using the Linux or Mac, then you can do the same as I did. So it's accessing the file. I don't need to use the vim for this. I can use just ls-l to show exactly the location, and it shows me exactly where it is. So it's in home gabor.gitconfig. That's the location of this file. Well, in my case, it's somewhere else, but don't worry about it. You can do this and this tilde shows my home directory. So it's my home directory, I know. You can do the same on Linux or Mac, or in that git bash shell you can do, and then that way you can know where the file is actually located on your computer. And then you can edit it with whatever editor you like. And then you will find that the username and email you set up for yourself is there. And you can also set up these aliases. So I don't know if you've noticed, or if I did it, that sometimes I run git st instead of git status. So it's just something, it's the same command, but how is it same command? This file allows me to set up aliases. So basically short words for longer commands. And historically, for some, I inherited basically these commands from someone else who used them. And my microphone just got disconnected for a second, but I think it's back. And I have the one that I really often use is the LG, but I also saved quite a few others that, as you noticed, I don't even remember what they're called, but this one is, for example, is quite nice. Basically, I'm telling that when I type git diffw, then basically run this command. Now, of course, if you remember to just provide the -- color words, maybe it's easier than to setting up an alias. So basically what I did is git diff color words. This is basically the command I just executed, okay? That helped me see more exactly what I changed. Okay, so if I run now the NCBI, okay, so that was one thing I wanted to see. And the other one, it was checking the diff between the NCBI and the NCBI protein. So now I'm not using git diff because I'm comparing two basically random files. The git diff was comparing the changed version of the file to the previously committed version. So let's say the original version of the file, of the same file. This one, this diff, which is unrelated to Git, can compare any two files and show the difference. Now, we can see here that we had the, and maybe does it have also, I don't know, color words? No, it doesn't have this flag, okay? But I think color, maybe color has. Okay, so it can have the color. So at least we can use the color, which is useful for those who are not mixing up red and green, of course. So, but in any way, this sign means that these lines were removed, and the right, it's not removed actually. On the left-hand side, so I have a ran git diff on for two files. So whatever is a left arrow, sort of, or less than sign, means that these lines are in the left side, in the file in the left side, so the NCBI pi in this case. And this means that they are on the right-hand side file, so the protein. So these were changed, which is fine, not changed. These are different. That's fine. They were different or earlier. This is protein here. This is the same here. So these are the two things. And the last thing is the argument. So basically, I think that that I made all the changes that I had to do for the nucleotide script, and now I could use the same program for both protein and nucleotide, because the rest is the same. So let's try to run this, Python NCBI pi. It will tell me I need to use nuc. What is this? Oh, I see something on the screen, but it's only on my screen. So nucleotide. I'm looking for cats, let's say, and 2. Okay, and okay, an error occurred. Some database is not defined. Okay, nucleotide. What's the problem? That's really strange. What is an error occurred? Vim NCBI. And okay, I got this error, but why? So we got an exception here, okay? What we saw here is this one. An error occurred, name database is not defined. Oh, I think I know. We were and this is basically this is a try except exception handling. So what this code says is that if in anywhere in here there is an exception, okay, that we saw earlier, that when we try to open a file or when we try to divide by 0, or in this case there is some exception, then this code raises an exception, this part catches it, and this variable e that I would personally prefer to have than err, but doesn't really matter, it has the error in it, and then it's printed, and that's it, and we get out. Now we have to find out where this problem happens. So here it can be in the first part and the second part. Unfortunately, let me look at this. Unfortunately, the error only tells me that something happened. Okay, and I could go and ask for. So normally, right, when you go and when you have an exception, you have the whole stack trace, so showing exactly where it was called and who called that function, and so where it happened and how did we get there. And unfortunately, because we only print here the exception itself, we don't receive that information. And I have somewhere, but I don't remember where, I can try to find it, okay? A code that will print out the whole stack trace. Basically, I have two options here, okay? So I would like to see the whole error message. One way is that I add some code here that will show the whole error, not just the error line, but all the story that was there. How do we got there? How do we get there? That's one option. The other option is just to remove this try except, move the whole code outside of it, and then naturally I will get an exception, and that's how I will be able to fix it, okay? Both are sort of temporary because eventually I will probably want to put them back so I get some nice error message. And the thing is that what now happened is that we had a programming error, not a real-world runtime error that was caused by, let's say, lack of correct information the user provided. So this really should never occur while the program is running for the users. It's happened now because I wrote something incorrectly. And I actually know what I did, but I would like to show how we can track it down easily. So Python, let me see if I have it here. CodeMaven archive and trace Python print stack trace after catching exception. Exactly what I wanted. So this is an article I wrote a while ago. What we need to do is import the traceback library. Okay, so I come to the beginning of the file and say import the traceback library. I usually put the standard libraries at the top and the not so standard, so the ones that I installed at the bottom. This what happened here as well. So I put this traceback now more higher up. So that's one thing that I needed to do. Then the rest is not that interesting. And then in the exception, I need to call this traceback format exe, whatever, and print the result. So here I call it, put it in a variable, and then print out. I don't need the extra variable. It's just for that show. So now I can say print, and I print out the result of this. Okay, let's see if this really worked the way I expected. So now I run the code again, and now I get this whole nasty exception that I really don't want to get while the user is a regular user is using, but now it's going to be really helpful. Why? Because now I can see that the problem is it's a name error. So basically it means that I was using a variable name or a function name in Python that doesn't exist. So how come that it doesn't exist, this database thing? Let me see. And the problem happens in line 12, okay? So I will go to line 12, and we can see that we are using this variable database. But we don't have it because where do we have it? Now I'm going to search for it. We have it only in the main function. That's what we got. And we don't have it, you don't have access to this variable. Now the same happened to the term variable as well. There was the term variable, and it was defined here in this main function, and we wouldn't have access to it in that other function if we actually, if there, right, didn't pass it to the function. So we need to do the same with the database variable. So I'm going to put here that database, I am passing the database variable as well, and I'm going to the definition of the function, and here I go database as well. So I'm accepting the variable, and now I already have this field here. So let me try to run this again, and it seems to be working. Okay. So now git st, this is the alias for status. And it shows that we modified the NCBI file. We got in the downloads, we got these two files about cats. Okay, let me see how they look. One of them, okay, so it's a GenBank file. So the code works now. Let me also check where else do we use this database. Here, the other one, this is the same function. So we already have this. So it looks like we fixed the previous problem. Now, I still have this line here, which I only added basically to see the details of this error. And I don't normally want to have this because I normally, if the user sees an error, the user probably should see some more user-friendly error. So I would either remove this or comment out because I don't need it for the user. So that would be one way to handle this situation. And now I could also, what is the other one? The other code is protein, okay? And it's called the database here. Protein is just called protein, okay? So I can run this program now, the same program that we have, and I say protein. Okay, now it's looking for the protein cats. And we have an issue here, I think, slight issue in the program, that it just freely overrode. If I run with the nucleotide again, let me just see what happens. So, okay, what you can see now is that it didn't, without question, the program just replaced these cat1 and cat2 files with the new files. It's probably not a good idea, okay? Because that means that it's very easy for us to ruin our old data, or remove our old data. How do I know that this happened? Is that I noticed that this is the file size here. And well, first of all, it didn't complain, right? But I just noticed that there are different files just by looking at their size. So after after downloading it from the proteins, these are really small files. And the nucleotides, these are rather big, much bigger files. So just by looking at their size, I know that they are different. And obviously, I could look into the content, but that's not that important for now. So that would be another improvement for this project, and I'm almost sure that everyone else had the same issue. Okay, I haven't checked this problem, but you have to think about it, what to do if the user provides some input that sort of would require you to override existing files or whatever, and then you can check whether the file exists and ask the user what should we do. Or you could, I don't know, instead of having a single download folder, you could have a download folder per date, exact time in microseconds. And then obviously you won't run the same program in the same microsecond. So this will be, each folder will be different. So you'll have the download. Or you could maybe say that instead of having cat1, cat2, you would say, let's say cat protein 1, cat protein 2, okay? Or cat nucleotide 1, nucleotide, and then it would be different for those. It's also slightly problematic in my view that these are numbered 1, 2, and again, I didn't check it for many of the students, or didn't comment on this for I guess most of the students, because so the problem here, of course, is that if I run this again, I don't really know if the database system, okay, will return me the exact same information for first and second cat in this case. So maybe if I run this program twice with protein, or let's say with protein, I will get back 2 different files in both cases, because the data, the web server, the website returns me different sets of data. So maybe let's look at the cat1, and I think we are talking now the nucleotide 1. So maybe instead of it would be better to name the file using some identifier which we can know that it's unique. So for example, in this case, I guess this ID is unique. And of course, still you might call it cat nucleotide and this one, okay? Or maybe this is unique and proteins have different IDs, I don't know. And I'm not 100% that that's the ID, but do they have ID? Primary identifier, okay, I don't know, okay? We have to make sure this that it will be unique. So again, if you run it twice, then instead of replacing the old random old value, you will create a new one, or so you won't have the any misunderstanding. I guess that's the probably the better way. What else? Any questions, by the way? Just remember, oh, I didn't turn on my chat system. So if you ask, then please ask. Speaking. Right. So what is now we still have an issue, okay? Besides this one, what if I type here just this? Okay, now we get this error, invalid DB name specified nucleode. Okay, that's actually really, really nice. We got an error message. So that's actually fine. What I wanted to, what happens if I run the program is that it still says just nucleotide. Okay, I could now just add here. If I open the editor. No, this is the wrong file. This is the right file. Nucleotide. So I could put over here, let's say, it all depends how you like it. We usually put a pipeline between alternative values. So protein, okay. And now if I run the program, it will say that the database, it's not this, it should be 1 database, okay. So it gives me the ID that the idea, the understanding that these are the potential or the accepted values for this database field. Okay, and then now we could actually get rid of the other program because this is now doing both. Okay, and having less code is usually a good thing. Okay, so that's also for the project. I told you what size it should be, but if you can have some code that solves that gets you a Nobel Prize, and you write it in 10 lines, fine by me. Okay, just mention please that you wrote it in this course, so I'll have also some credit for your Nobel Prize. But besides that, the point is really, which is really not, how shall I really put it? In the industry, many times, in the programming industry, unfortunately, way too many times, productivity measured by the number of lines of code you write. And in better places, this is not. But in reality, we know that more lines is just bad. Okay, if you can express something in a clear way, but fewer lines, that's usually better. Okay, and the emphasis on in a clear way. Okay, not just randomly putting together very short code that then it becomes unreadable. Okay, so not having this duplicate code will mean that if we would like to make the improvement, for example, checking whether the file exists before we write the file, so we won't by mistake replace the file, or we might ask the user, do you want to replace this file? Okay, that's annoying a little bit, but it can be handled. But now, because we only have one program, we need to only implement it in one place. Earlier, when we still had these two programs, one for nucleotides and one for proteins, then we would have to implement the same thing in two places, or copy paste and then update the values, this nucleotide and protein values. So this is, in that way, it's a better solution. Now let me show you, I'm going to put this, okay, before I continue, this is the folder that I have. Day 9, I'm creating the folder day 9, and I'm going to copy, so this is the folder where the project folder we have, and this is where we were working. So I'm going to take this NCBI program and copy it to work with day 9, copy it and call it NCBI shared, let's say, Python. And actually, I'm going to say this is the original, and I'm going to copy not the NCBI Py file, but the one with the protein, which is basically the same, right? It was just the NCBI, the nucleotide versus protein. So I'm going to save this one as well. So you will be able to see the differences later on as well. And now I'm going to create a third one, okay, or I'm going to further improve this. And for this, I'm going to show you something in the slides, Python, argparse, command line argument parse. Okay, so this is where we are going to use a library to parse arguments. And here I'm going to take the plans, okay, and first of all, I'm going to copy this thing, and I'm not sure why it's still 8. This is readme. This should be day 9 already. 8, 9, okay. So this is 9. And we are I'm going to put the link here. So you will be able to access it. And then in the plans, I'm going to change the 8 to 10, because that's going to be the next one. 8 to 10. Okay, fine. And I'm also adding mention that this is what we were dealing with now. Okay, so the next thing is that I'm going to use a library to parse the command line arguments. And why do I need this? So now if I run this Python NCBI Py, it tells me that I need 3 parameters. And sort of it's fine. It's quite clear that what is the database, what is the term, what is that they are, the first one is the database, the second one is the term, the third one is the number. But later on, you might get more and more of these parameters. For example, you would provide a folder to where to download the files, and you could say, okay, by default, download them into this download folder as the application does it. But maybe the user will want to provide a parameter, as a new parameter for the download folder to select something else, not the default one. Okay. Actually, let's implement this one. Okay. So NCBI Py. And one more clarification before I go on. If it was my program, okay, and my version control system, okay, my Git repository, then at this point I would commit the changes locally, okay, because I made some improvements and it's working. And before I go on and make further changes, I would commit the changes. This is more like explaining you how you can develop something in a nicer way. Because it's not my repository, I won't deal with that, but exactly for the same reason, I actually copied them, so we can easily get back to these versions if I break something while I'm writing this. So I'm editing the file, and I would like to get now another parameter is the download folder, and let's call it download folder. And so now I put it here in this print statement, and if I run the program, Python NCBI, okay, it will tell me that it needs the download folder. But in reality, what I wanted is that the download folder will be an optional parameter. Okay, so how can I indicate this? Let me, so there are two, okay, I have now two problems, is this. One of them is, how can I indicate to the user that this download folder is optional and it has a default value, which is called download? That's one. And how can I here accept it? How can I verify that I have the right number of parameters? And how can I accept it? So maybe it's already 3 different issues. So first of all, if I already started with this, how can I indicate it? Usually we put it a square bracket that indicates that something is optional. That's sort of the common way to indicate it. And I can also put here a value saying download, it's called downloads, right? Downloads, this is the name of the folder, downloads, okay? So this is sort of the way that I can indicate to the user that this extra parameter is optional and it has a default value downloads. If I run the program, this is how it looks like. Okay, fine. How can I check now? Because right now it checks exactly for 4 values, so 3 parameters. But in reality, we can have either 3 or 4 parameters. So we have to check here if length is argv is different, is different from 4 and also different from 5. Okay, so it can be either 4 or 5, because 1 is for the name of the program and then 3 or 4 extra. Okay, and here the name of the download folder. So here I see download folder equal to sysargv4, right? That would be sort of what I wanted to write, but I can't really write it, because if it's if I get only 4 parameters, okay, or only 3 parameters, then this won't actually exist. And anyway, in that case, I would like to put here the word downloads. So I need to put here something that will work in both ways. And one of the things I can put here is that I can put the following code, which is called the conditional operator in Python. So I would say, put here the sysargv4 if the len of the sysargv is equals to 5. Otherwise, put here the word downloads, not the word, the string downloads. Okay. And then where does it this downloads we have? Here we have the variable name. So instead of that, instead of having the name, not the variable name, sorry, there's the name of the folder. Here was it here? So instead of now having the word the string downloads in all places, in 1, 2, 3 places, right? We have these are the 3 places we have. Okay, and this one is already I put here, and this one also I put here. So we have these 3 places. Instead of that, we need the variable which is download folder, right? Let me remind myself. I called it, yeah, download folder. So instead of this, I need to put here download folder. Here too, download folder. Actually, even before that, before I made these changes, it could have been a better idea to put this value in a variable because it appeared in 3 places. And if I wanted to change it, now, I mean, I had to change it in 3 places. That's what I'm doing here. And here, I can put here download folder. Oops. Looks fine. Okay, let's try this one now. So I can run Python NCBI. It will tell me what to download. I'm using protein because it's easier for me to type. I'm going to look for the cat. Actually, I'm going to use for, let's do it with a dog. Okay, number 2. And I don't provide any additional value here. So now it's downloading 2 dogs, hopefully. And in the downloads folder, okay. I just got the error. Download folder is not defined. Okay, that's why I don't have the docs. So why is no download folder? Because this variable too, just as with the database, we need it in this function, the fetch NCBI records function, but we don't have it. So I need to receive it from the whoever calls this function, download folder, so another parameter, and who is calling this fetch NCBI records here, and here I need to pass it, download folder. Okay, let me try to run this again. So now I had to pass this variable as parameter, this variable as a parameter to this function. So it says, yeah, I downloaded it here. Dogs are here. Okay, so let's try to something else. What else? What other animal we have? Mouse. Mouse, but we want to put it in the mice folder. Let's see what happens. Nice. It says, at least, printed out, that it created a new folder, and indeed there is a new folder called mice, and the mice are there. Okay, so we made another improvement for this one, because now the user can already supply this. Okay, let's save this. Again, at this point, I would, in my own project, I would make a commit. with some explanation of what the changes I made. But because it's not my project and not my repository, and I don't want to commit to these repositories, to this repository, I'm going to just not this one, work with day 9, and I have NCBI original shared NCBI download folder. Okay, so this is the new version that I saved here. Let me switch to this other window, and let's see day 9. Okay, so I have these 3 files already. I even copy this one, ls-1. I copy the names so I can order them. Readme. These are the original, the shared, and the download folder. This is the order that we were working on. And I mentioned to some people the backtick thing. So you can see here in various places that I used, where is the backtick? Yeah, here for example, okay? So here I use the backtick. This is the one that on the same keyboard, on the same key as the tilde next to the 1 on most keyboards. So this will highlight the text, and if it's multiple lines, then you can put 3 backticks. This is in the markdown file. So this is a nice way to do this. So these were the 3 files. I could have put them in with a star, and then they would be ordered, but whatever. Okay, so this is the next version. And then I see it's now 5 minutes to 10 o'clock, so I guess I'm going to take a break. What I'm going to do now is that it's sort of getting, let me see. It's the fact that I had to start, the logic accepting the command line parameters is getting out of hand, okay? So I had to put here some code, it's 4 or 5. Here I had to put another condition, and that's only that. But what if now, let's say, you remember there is this 2 things, okay? So you remember I asked you to create a file, and it's here, this search log, okay? What if we would like to make this optional, or we would like to allow the user to provide the name of this file? Again, then it's going to further complicate it. That's one thing. The other thing is that we do print out all this stuff as the program runs. What if we would like to also make it optional? Okay, does the user want this to see the progress, or the user doesn't want to see the progress as files are downloaded? And soon it will become that you have a lot of these optional values and a lot of way too much code, very complex code, just to accept the parameters from the command line. And actually, even if you have two values that are optional, then how do you know which one you got? Okay, I mean, in this case, we know that the first 3 are the fixed ones, and the 4th is an optional. But what if there are 2 optionals? Then we won't know which one, and the user provides 1 value. How do we know that which optional it is? So we have a much better way to handle this. And for that, we are going to use this argparse module, but that's only after the break. And now I spoke even more, so we have even less time. So 10 past, it's 10 o'clock, right? 3 minutes to 10. So 10 past 10, we continue with that part. So see you then.